Assalamualaikum. In this video, we are going to present on the contribution of Maqasid al-Shari'ah for financial stability and macroeconomic gains. Maqasid al-Shari'ah has been described as the objectives of the Shari'ah. In the financial sector, Maqasid al-Shari'ah is a broad framework which provides guidelines for ensuring that the maslahah benefit is recognized in all the financial contracts and that the mafsadah harm is prevented. Nevertheless, these goals remain confusing until they are applied in reality. Maqasid al-Shari'ah should not be limited to the Islamic purposes of legislation relating to financial activities. Indeed, it covers the objective of Islam in financial activities. Although we accept that it is necessary to follow the philosophical underpinning of legal rulings, a Maqasid discussion will extend the topic to why and for what reasons the contracts and financial activities are permitted or prohibited. Shariah's original literary meaning as source of water or path to a watering place. Thus, Shariah is an all-embracing concept and framework that supports human existence and provides the principles, values, and means necessary to establish human well-being in this worldly life and the hereafter. The Quran and Sunnah are the primary origins of Maqasid al-Shari'ah. Maqasid is often found in texts that explicitly or implicitly state the purpose of the Shari'ah in human life. As the Shari'ah is conceived on the basis of and for the human benefit, Maqasid al-Shari'ah involves the various aspects of human needs. Their fulfillment will create a balanced satisfaction in human life at the level of both the individual and society, and will contribute to the attainment of human well-being. Maqasid would therefore affect both the micro and macro dimensions of individual and collective life. In specific, with respect to Islamic finance, Maqasid al-Shari'ah focuses on the overall goals and purpose that the Shari'ah aims to accomplish through its financial practices and transaction-related principles and rulings.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm going to present impact of Maqasid al-Shari'ah on financial stability. The point I'm going to present is fair and transparent financial practice. Maqasid al-Shari'ah may be a direct road to realize fairness and transparency in financial practices. Sharia rulings required to restrict and abolish the haram and impermissible elements including interest and uncertainty. The two fundamental categories of interest which are sternly prohibited in Islamic law are riba al-saniyah, which is interest on lend money, and riba al-fadl, which is literally earning or abundant acquired by exchanging or selling commodities of superior value over others commodities given. As a result, all banks and financial institutions must diverse from riba and perform with some business transactions excluding riba. First and foremost, Maqasid al-Shari'ah gives impact for financial stability because of fairness and transparency. It's because Islamic financial institutions have no element of interest, however, they have stiff penalties. Lot of difference between Islamic and conventional in financial institutions. For example, in Islamic financial impose penalty through ta'wid and garamah, while conventional financial institutions impose penalty through riba. Similarity of Islamic and conventional in financial institutions will be charged the borrower by 1% for the late payment, but Islamic no compound charge allowed and conventional will be compound for next month interest. We can see that most of the conventional institutions are making use of hidden fees as well as charges that were unfair to the customers. For example, customer may expect to pay a specific amount of fee for any services that they use. They may additional charge that the customer are not necessarily aware of during the time they sign up the agreement. On the other contrary, Maqasid al-Shari'ah in Islamic financial institutions are the fine solution for boost this hidden fee and charge problem. It is due to the fact in Islamic financial institutions, the concept of hidden fee doesn't exist at all. Since gharar is prohibited in Islam, so the customers can reveal in doing any rate transaction beside the factor of uncertainty when dealing with Islamic financial institutions. In addition, Islamic financial institutions prohibit extra charges such as interest, which is opposite with Sharia principle. To conclude, my point is choosing Maqasid al-Shari'ah in Islamic financial institutions is the right solution of us to prevent from receiving the bad effect of conventional institutions. In addition, Maqasid al-Shari'ah is a term that refers to the preservation of order, achievement of benefit, and prevention of harm and corruption.
Circulation of wealth. Firstly, Islamic financing is a significant prospect for worldwide money stability. Secondly, Sharia focuses on financial stability and equality, thus clearly nullifies riba and abstains from gharar. Riba is a term used in Islamic finance to refer to interest-driving loans, which is forbidden. Riba and gharar make financially instability. For making financial stability, Sharia prohibited riba and gharar. Thirdly, Zakat increases the employment opportunities for the people and helps in poverty alleviation. Zakat on wealth is based on the value of all of the one's possessions. As one of the first 5 pillars of Islam, Zakat is a religious duty for all Muslims who met the necessary criteria of wealth. It is mandatory charitable contribution, often considered to be a tax. The payment and disputes on zakat have played a major role in the history of Islam. And lastly, we can say that it can be valuable in breaking down the different formulative difficulties confronting Muslim people group globally.
So next, the impact of Maqasid al-Shari'ah on financial stability is, we can see in terms of prohibition of interest or riba. One of the most important objectives in Sharia from the financial point of view is elimination of interest or riba in all categories of business transactions. The two main categories of interest or riba which are sternly prohibited in Islamic law are riba al-nasiyah, which is interest on lend money, and riba al-fard, which is literally earnings acquired by exchanging or selling commodities of superior value over the commodities given. The second one is to encourage the maslahah in Islamic banking. Is also the impact of Maqasid al-Shari'ah. Islamic bank must take into consideration the universal and dynamic conception of Maqasid al-Shari'ah. Islamic banks must ensure that their policies and programs on public interest take into consideration the preservation of the 5 essential elements. For example, Islamic banks should give priorities in their business activities to those areas related to the basic needs of the public, such as investments in visual sectors and financing of housing projects.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now, I want to explain about impact Maqasid al-Shari'ah on macroeconomic gains. Okay, first of all, my point is stable economic growth rate. Okay, firstly, Islamic banking plays at least 4 important roles. It encourages lending, stimulates saving, promotes financial stability, and contributes to financing morally acceptable projects. Islamic banking brings many benefits, not just in Muslim majority countries, but also in other countries, generally low and middle income population. Among the financial products offered, the best known are the murabaha, murarabah, musyarakah, and the ijarah. Okay, if you all know, Islamic banking use Maqasid Shari'ah. Next, the Islamic finance sector continues to record positive growth in 2018 with Shariah compliance financing from Bank Islam grew 10.5% to cover the share, which is larger by 36.6% of total financing of the banking sector. In addition, amount net takaful contribution also grew 15.9% with an increase in market share by 16.6% of total premiums and contribution. According to Ernst & Young's report 2011, Islamic financing had nearly half of the market share in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and almost a quarter in Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. Okay. Next, the International Monetary Fund (IMF), the World Bank, and other international financial organizations believe that the assets of Islamic banks have increased during 9 of the years between 2003 and 2013, with an average increase of 60% per year. So, Islamic finance increasingly interested the international community because of its ethical religious dimension, its socially responsible philosophy, and its roots in the real economy. In summation, Islamic finance offers great potential to finance infrastructure, drive inclusive growth, and ensure economic growth.
Full employment is a situation using all available resources efficiently to attain maximum output. When the economy achieves full employment, the national output increases and there was an increase in economic growth. Economic growth is important for a country to ensure the basic needs of Maqasid Shari'ah can be taken care of. When there was an increase in economic growth, it can create more opportunity jobs for people to work. Then the unemployment rate will decrease and full employment achieved. The income of people will increase and the poverty rate decrease. As a result, the issue of employment rates can be addressed. People can find a halal income to support their families and themselves. Then it can reduce dependence on others. Doing the halal job is important to obtain the pleasure of Allah.
Maqasid Shari'ah give impact on equitable distribution of wealth, where it is related with the circulation of wealth, followed by Maqasid Shari'ah perspective. Islam encourages wealth circulation in terms of efficient distribution and highly discourage wealth concentration to few hands. Even Allah said in Holy Quran, where there is ayah, obviously explain that the distribution of wealth must be fair, efficient, and justice, which is distributing wealth as widely as possible among members and society. To further enlighten this concept of wealth, Sharia has made the permissibility in all the financial contracts and activities unless stated otherwise to empower the people and to help the society to flourish and prosper. All excessive wealth should be held as a trust, where Sharia has provided some measure for spending wealth on the society, such as zakat, voluntary charity, inheritance, will, donation, and social security. For example, as we know that zakat is one of the instruments of Islamic economic system, where zakat play a significant role to eliminating inequalities in society. Furthermore, Muslims who are possess surplus of wealth are obligated to pay zakat, and this fund will be distributed to the asnaf and poor, avoiding hoarding, and where these activities will make the rich more richer and hence increase the gap between the rich and the poor, which is lead to inequalities, distribution of wealth, and poverty become worse. For conclude, for achieving equitable distribution of wealth among society, Maqasid Shari'ah play a very important role in this case. That's why the Shari'ah strongly emphasizes on preserving
one world, which is one of the main objectives in Sharia is protection of a world.
For the conclusion, Islam promotes economic development based on the Maqasid al-Shari'ah principle, which upholds the philosophy of social justice and welfare, equality, humanity, cooperation, and brotherhood. Maqasid al-Shari'ah also goes hand in hand with the United Nations SDG 1, which seeks to end all poverty and inequality around the world. In the case of financial stability and the SDGs, there are severe consequences for the entire economy when financial systems fail. The provision of vital financing to business enterprises is often impaired by dysfunctional financial systems, therefore constraining economic development, productivity, and employment creation. The SDGs can only be supported by safe and sound Islamic financial institutions and markets. This is why Maqasid al-Shari'ah are very important in financial stability and macroeconomic gains.